All right, let's get into it. Well, it's Friday again.
It is. Welcome back to another edition of Warfighter Tobacco Podcast. I don't even know what episode it is.
17.
19.
19.
There we go.
Close enough.
Yep. And today's episode, we got Dave.
Hi, everybody.
Dave Thomas. Dave's been with us forever.
No, before Warfighter.
Yeah, since before Warfighter. And he was our Texas sales guy for a while, and now he takes care of all of our operations in-house. But
we're going to get to know Dave. So, Dave, kick it off. Tell us, give us the, I was born and now I live.
Well, I was born. Everything started annoying me, and nothing has changed since then. No, I
Stop shitting his pants, though.
well, occasionally.
yeah. Every once in a while, the sneezes catch him.
Well, that's,
You can't trust a sneeze or a fart after 40. So
it's funny how you go out of this world the same way you came into it.
Naked, screaming, covered in somebody else's blood.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of guys go down like that.
yeah, no, I was born in Nebraska. Kind of bounced all over. Parents were both military, so grew up Northeast primarily, and then after a very short stint in the Air Force, found my way back to Nebraska. Bounced around there for a few years, landed an ability to go back to school, and that was where I met you. Went to a gun show.
Yeah.
You had a table set up in Columbus, actually, at the gun show up there. Went up with a buddy of mine, actually, Mr. Haish, who was down here. That was the first day I met you.
Nice.
So
yeah, that was probably 2009.
Oh no, it would have been a little bit later than that.
10 or 11 then, probably.
I was
because I started my guns thing. I had my FFL probably around 2009 or 10.
Yeah, it would have been. I didn't move to Lincoln until around 12, so it would have been 13, 14 time frame.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, maybe somewhere right around in that time frame. I mean, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you met me at the gun show, and then you came to my gun shop, and
yeah. Well, at that point, you had not opened the shop in Bennett yet.
Right.
You were in the process of doing that. Rapidly became a regular, so much so to the point that I stopped in one day, and you were like, "Hey, I've been meaning to talk to you anyway." Because John and I are going to go shoot this PRS match this weekend. My wife has informed me she's no longer going to run the shop on her own.
yeah, the weekends at the shop got kind of crazy, and to put it on one person,
Oh, that was a lot.
was a lot, and to put it on one person like my wife, who didn't, I mean, she knew guns fairly well, but not like enough to like give advice and handle it like we did. And then when you have 6 people in there all at the same time, it was way too much for one person. So yeah.
So you hit me with a proposition that was really hard for me to say no to, and it was pretty much you want to come hang out and play with guns and maybe make some money on the side. And I was like, wait, you're gonna pay me to come play with guns all day and maybe sell a couple? I am in.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did that kind of like you guys call me what, like once or twice a month maybe.
Yeah, probably.
I'd come in and cover down for a weekend.
And you were part-time for probably what, a year or two?
Oh, that was
Maybe a year.
I don't know. It might have been close to 2.
Yeah.
Kind of off and on. Because at that point I was still working for Speedway.
Oh yeah.
Before I no longer had a job there.
And then and then you came on full time, and I suppose you did that for about 3 years ish.
No, that was less than a year.
Less than a year.
Yeah, it was less than a year
Okay.
before you sold the store.
Yeah. Then I had to fire you because I sold the gun shop.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't sting as bad because you did fire everybody that day.
That's true,
So.
including myself, my wife, everybody. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
No, I spent, I don't know, that was about just shy of a year doing Cerakote, basic gunsmithing, sales when things got busy upstairs.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so you were there when we started Warfighter.
Yeah.
Yeah. As just like 2 cabinets in the gun store. And then, yeah. And then, then we moved to Texas, and it was probably, I don't know, 6 months, a year after we moved down here.
Yeah, I think it was about a year after that. Savita and I had made it a habit of going to Cigars Lounge, Stacy's place, Sunday evenings. Kind of just sit down, have a cigar, have a bullshit session, kind of start the week on a good note with a good stick. And the bartender made a comment that they hadn't heard from anybody. So I texted you, and I think all I got back was want the job. So I kind of picked up doing a little bit of repping up there, taking care of the shops up there.
Yeah, because since we started Warfighter in Nebraska, as Lincoln area specifically, we had quite a few shops that we had a good relationship with that abruptly ended when we moved to San Antonio.
Yeah,
because we had our hands full with everything else.
Yeah,
and then so people were voicing their concern that they weren't getting enough attention from us. So we needed to rep up there, and you lived there, and you knew the brand, you knew the story.
And I knew most of the shops in the area too, because we would always, even when we didn't do events, we always, at least once a week, everybody would kind of congregate at one shop somewhere and hang out and bullshit. So everybody kind of knew that I was somewhat connected to the brand, and it was a semi easy transition for a lot of that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and then we got down here, and then I don't know. You did that for what, probably 6 months or so, and
no, that was 2 years. That was almost the entire time I was with Eric at Zermatt. Yeah.
Yeah.
So kind of did that on the side hustle, and then you came up to Nebraska. I think it was might have been a family visit. You might have been passing through on the way up to see Nathan. Or maybe finalizing stuff with your house. I think you were selling the house in Hickman at that point. But you met me for a cigar at Capitol, and you brought up the option. You kind of said you guys were getting to the point where you kind of needed someone to do in Texas what I was doing in Nebraska.
Yeah.
On a much larger scale.
Yeah.
And
there's just 1 or 2 more shops here in Texas than there are in Nebraska.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think last time I looked, there was 238 or 240.
And there's
been
in Nebraska.
Yeah, there's probably 12 now, maybe. I don't know.
I think there's about 10 or 12 now.
Yeah.
They've had a few more open up, out towards the western edge of the state, and then a few more up towards Omaha as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Great Plains.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing, is when there's 5 population centers in the entire state, and the population of the state is still just a touch over the population of San Antonio.
Yeah.
And that's just the city proper.
Yeah.
That's not the greater San Antonio area.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I applaud the people that put forth the effort to open a lounge and build a lounge up there. But it doesn't take long to get to a saturated market for the cigars population.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the statistics for active cigar smokers? It's like 2%.
Oh, of the population?
Yeah, something like that.
It's probably
I
pretty.
think we went down the rabbit hole one day looking at it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, when you get 1.6 million people in the state and 2% are active regular cigar smokers, that's not a whole lot of a customer base to work with. So the people that can open one and maintain it, good.
They get a little higher tax rate up there too, 20%.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
And they're not capped.
Yeah. So eventually we got you down here. You became the Texas rep. Did that for
3, just shy of 3 years.
3 years. Yeah.
Yeah, because I came down in October of 20, and Eric took over full time on the road in August
Yeah.
of this year, or last year, excuse me.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah. So
lots
now
of miles, lots of faces.
we brought Eric on, and everybody met Eric in an episode or 2 ago, maybe. Yeah, and then we moved you over to operations, so you kind of cover all the shipping, ordering.
Yeah. Inventory management, fulfillment, customer service.
So
Yeah. I mean, it frees up time for you guys to do what you need to do to be able to focus on growing the brand like we've been growing the last several years. I mean, and that's the thing is like seeing where it started, having had a foot in the door since day one.
Yeah.
To see where we are now, it's phenomenal. I mean, it's
you got to think back to the days when we used Pelican cases in the basement of the gun
well,
store.
I'm just thinking back to
when
like,
we would get like I just had a video on Facebook on my memories of when we got a delivery. I might have been one of our last shipments out of the Dominican.
Yeah.
Where it was still in like the gold boxes.
Mm-hmm.
And we were like, this is awesome. This 25,000 cigars we just brought in. We're like, fuck, we brought 18,000 in yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah. I think back to, right now, like we order what we sold in the first 3 years every time we order now.
Yeah.
I know, right?
So yeah, it's gotten a little bigger. We haven't, it's gotten bigger. We have you, Justin, and Eric are full time.
Yeah.
But other than that, like we've kept the operation kind of small, and I kind of like it that way. Everybody who works with us, I feel like we're not corporate. We're not. I don't have all the
Right.
But there's a room to grow. Yeah. We need to grow into different regions now.
Yeah.
Yeah. But,
Yeah. It's extremely easy for us as a company to pivot when we need to pivot on something. Like if we need to,
well, there's the decision makers are all in the same room, and that.
Yeah, we don't have to send an email to schedule a meeting to have a phone call.
about the meeting.
Yeah. So it's that's it. Yeah, we're pretty good at pivoting.
So when did you start smoking cigars?
That would have been about 6 months after Warfighter started, because I had
You held off that long.
when I was drinking, I grew up smoking cigarettes, and,
right.
and when I quit drinking for good, the last round, I quit smoking cigarettes about the same time.
Yeah.
And then one of my favorite lines when I was out on the road doing events and stuff like that is people would ask me that question. I was like, I was doing pretty good. I was like, I used to smoke cigarettes and then I quit. And then a couple of years later, a few assholes I know started a cigar company. And now here I am.
Yeah. A little different though.
It is. It's there's a vast difference about the relationships you can forge over a cigar as opposed to a cigarette. And I was sitting at Stacy's shop many years ago, talking to a young kid, and he was a grad student at UNL.
Yeah.
University of Nebraska in Lincoln there. And he was doing a research paper on cigars and the culture behind them. And he's like, I'm trying to figure out the best way to express this to people. And I was like, look, say we're cigarette smokers and we're at a party. We go outside to smoke a cigarette. That's a 5-minute interaction, and I may never see you again.
Yeah.
We've been sitting at this bar bullshitting over a cigar for the last 45 minutes, and we still have probably another 25 to 30 minutes of smoking to be done yet.
Yeah.
It's like, you will remember this conversation 6 months down the road.
Yeah.
And you'll,
I kind of want to deep dive that topic a little bit. What, the difference in relationships that you build smoking cigars versus cigarettes.
Oof.
Right. Like
It's a slippery slope.
It is. We could, but like we've built, I know you and me have both definitely probably built relationships smoking cigarettes back in the day.
Yeah.
When we were first getting in the military and you're hanging out with the guys outside for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But it's 10 times a day with the same people.
absolutely.
So there is a relationship built there.
Well, and that's the common ground mentality, because it's like, oh, you smoke a cigarette? Cool. Smoke break?
Yeah.
But for the non-military folks,
Yeah. I don't see how many relationships that can be built that are solid relationships.
you meet very interesting people by having to step outside of an establishment to have a cigarette.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's not like in a cigar lounge where,
Yeah.
like in a cigar lounge, you get people from all walks of life,
Yeah.
right? you're at a bar and say you can't smoke in the bar, so you got to go outside, on the sidewalk to have a cigarette. You walk out on that sidewalk and I mean, you got night walkers and crackheads. You got businessmen. You got everybody, but you have the ends of that spectrum are so broad.
Yes,
we're at least in the cigar world, like
it's brought in a little bit,
just because I think it's a lot has to do with just the culture behind it, the price point of cigars.
Well, what I'm picturing is like you're talking to this person outside smoking a cigarette, right? 30 seconds later, they throw it on the ground, step it out, and get back inside.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like,
But like never in a cigar lounge. I wouldn't say never, but it's not common that you're in a cigar lounge somewhere and like, hey, bro, you got an extra cigar?
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you walk outside of any bar where there's somebody smoking and you hang out for 30 seconds, you're going to hear that. Hey, bro, you got an extra smoke? No, man, my pack only came with 20. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I kind of want to do a video about the differences between cigar smokers and cigarette smokers, but I want to focus on the box, like the packing. Like we take a box of cigars and we start packing them. Anyway, I digress.
Yeah.
And you open it and it just grenaded in there.
What are you doing?
What happened?
Oh. We have some boxes we could probably get away with doing that with. Yeah. No, it's there's definitely a barrier to entry. I mean, you got to factor like the night shift, for example. MSRP on that's $10.50.
Yeah.
That's a pack of cigarettes for most people nowadays.
Yeah, that's true.
You know?
Yeah.
And Jesus, the first pack of cigarettes I ever bought, I think I paid $1.85 for.
I know, right?
That's kind of funny, though. What do you think of that, right? So let's just say a pack of cigarettes is $10 right now, right? You get 20 cigarettes in that pack. So you're at 50 cents a stick.
Yeah.
50 cents a cigarette, right? You walk by a homeless man. He's getting spare change. Nah, bro, get a job. Hey, bud, can I bum a smoke from you? Here you go, man. Here's 50 cents.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Let me support your habit that's going to kill you instead of let me help this guy eat today.
Yeah. But in the cigar community, though, you like I meet people that are trading cigars or all the time.
These things are baseball cards for adults.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I was doing an event in Phoenix over this past weekend at Cigar Therapy, and one of the guys there, everyone calls him Ducky, and he just got done smoking. I think he smoked an Oscuro Maduro, and then he smoked a night shift. And then, we were packed. There's people outside, out front of the shop hanging out and stuff. So I walk out front just to, talk with some of the guys that were out there. And Ducky walks out and he lights up a cigarette. And everybody immediately starts giving him shit.
Yeah.
And they're like, what, you didn't get enough off the 2 cigars you just chain smoked? He's like, no, actually, it didn't. So I need this cigarette. And I'm like, bro.
Well, no, he might have got nicotine off the 2 cigars, but he needed all the extra chemicals in the cigarette too.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Yeah, that's pretty funny. And then, but there is a definitely distinct difference between the smell of a cigar and the smell of a cigarette.
Yeah.
I was sitting in a different lounge in Phoenix, and somebody in there, I don't know who it was, but somebody lit up a cigarette. And that's usually a huge no-go in a cigar lounge. For one, it's just, it doesn't, a lot of cigarette smokers will say cigars smell like, smell bad.
Yeah.
And every cigar smoker is going to say that cigarettes smell bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they do. And whoever it was, they lit it up and they weren't like, I couldn't see them. So they weren't within eyesight of me. I could just smell it. And I was like, wow. I'm like, okay. I'm like, somebody's about to get kicked out.
I have to say though, and you could probably get away with this too, as a former cigarette smoker.
Yeah.
There are times when that first whiff of a freshly lit cigarette smells so goddamn good.
Right? You smell it, you're like, oh, I remember that.
And then the second one hits and you're like, ugh.
Nope. It's funny, it was probably, I don't know, 2 or 3 years after I quit smoking cigarettes. And we were at a bar and we were drinking. And I was just like, I'm at the point, I could have a cigarette tonight and I'm not going to go buy a pack tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so I bumped a smoke off someone. and I lit it, and I might have took like 3 puffs off it, and I was like, I don't know how I used to smoke these things. Like it was
About
just so bad.
About every 3 years, I'll smoke a cigarette, just because, you know. And it's the same thing.
Oh.
God, I can't believe that. But when I was smoking, it was from the age of 14 to 20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I quit smoking cigarettes in basic training. Like quit. Well, I mean, you have to. They don't let you. But when I got done with basic,
Right.
I didn't go buy cigarettes. Right. I didn't smoke until I was in I think I was actually in airborne school. Is when I learned that if you're standing there not doing anything, then you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
But if you're standing there and you have a cigarette in your hand, they just walk right by you. And so I was like, well, shit. So I went and bought a pack of cigarettes. And every time people were just hanging out, I just light one and hold it. Like I wasn't smoking it.
Yeah.
And then eventually I started, and then, you know, then you can't smoke at night. So then I was like, oh, I need chew now. So then I started chewing too.
So the reason I smoked cigarettes is because, I mean, I've been selling tobacco for 30 years.
Yeah.
I've only owned Warfighter tobacco for 8. So yeah, from 14 to 20, I'd be the guy that looked old enough to go buy a carton and sell them to all of his buddies and make a little profit. So
I started smoking cigarettes in high school just because it was the cool thing to do.
Yeah.
And then I played hockey, so I was on the hockey team. Well, during the season, if you smelled like smoke, you couldn't practice, you couldn't play in a game.
Oh shit.
And so that's when I started chewing, because it was just like, well, everybody else on the team chews, and nobody bitches about them chewing. Like you're sitting in the locker room, you get a bunch of high school kids spitting in spit bottles. And the coach walks in, and he's like, okay, we got 8 minutes, we're on the ice, and it turns around and walks out. Yeah. And I'm just like, okay. But if you smoke a cigarette, you're done. You can't play. And so then it kind of translated over into the military also. Yeah. But it wasn't like seasonal. It was day or night. Yeah.
Yeah, that's let's see. I think John, you quit chewing about 6 months before I got down here, didn't you?
Yeah, I think so.
I feel like we should tell. So you said smoking and chewing was the difference between day and night, right?
Yeah.
I feel like we should go
give a reason.
I feel like we should go get
to
show how you would smoke at night, because it would be funny.
I will.
I'll grab
light
it.
therapy.
I'll grab it.
Yeah. No, so the light discipline.
Well, the reason you don't smoke at night was because
it's in light discipline.
Yeah. If you had explain that, and I'll be right back.
So the room we're in right now is probably, I think it's 15 feet wide and 25 feet long. If I lit one cigarette in this room, it would glow like the sun is coming out of this through night vision. Yeah. All the windows will be lit. All light pollution will be coming out the windows. Like you can't hide it. You can spot a cigarette miles away through night vision. It's insane. And so, when you're in patrol-based activities, you're in a hide or you're doing whatever. You can't smoke at night just because it's such a giveaway for your position. And so that's why I chewed at night, because there's no noise or light. But I found a way.
So John's not that old. This is an M16A1. However, it's the same grip that we got issued.
And the grip is what you need. So you need a grip that has a hole in the bottom that's hollow. A lot of the grips now have trap doors in the bottom. Yeah. You can store a toolkit or something in there. But what I would do, we'd be in a patrol-based activity. We'd be doing some sort of operation. We're always pulling guard when we were not actually moving. And so you have, an element that's making plans or figuring out what's going on or where you're at or planning the next whatever. And then you always have an element that's pulling security. Yeah. And, I was a machine gun team, so we were always pulling security. We were never involved in planning. That was it. We were there just to put rounds down range. And so typically when you're pulling security, you're laying in the prone, you got your rifle in front of you, and you're just sitting like this, right? And you have your little sector that you're watching, and you're just there, and sometimes for hours.
And your squad leader would come around and check, make sure you're awake, make sure you're pulling
anything going on, whatever. You're like, oh, Roger, sorry, everything's good, blah, 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 right? But the difference of a gun like this at the night and a gun like this at night, nobody knows the difference. And if you take your cigarette at the time, this is a cigar, and you put it in the buttstock, right, like that, or in the pistol grip, and you put your hands all the way around it, and you tuck this in your corner. You can smoke and still look like you're pulling security. And then about, I don't know, halfway through the cigarette, who's smoking? I don't know, son. I can't see it anywhere. I don't know what's going on.
Because when you would take a drag of an exposed cigarette, the night vision would glow.
It would just light up.
It would just light up. So you would totally get busted.
But yeah, and then the best part about it is when you get done, like the ashes just fall right in it. And then when you get done, you just drop the cigarette and you just hold it and you just wait for like a minute and the cigarette goes out and then you just flip the rifle over. You dig a little hole first.
Yeah. Then
Then you flip the rifle over and everything falls in that and you just fill it in as you're pulling security. Nobody even knows.
So anyway, that's how some of us got away with it.
I never got caught doing that. Never. And it was always, who's smoking? You can smell it.
Oh, yeah.
There was those of us who knew.
I mean, I didn't get caught by leadership. And the people that knew, they're just like, this fucking idiot. Oh, the good old days.
Yeah.
There's a will, there's a way.
Yep. But boy, you could smell it. Like when we set up a patrol base from one end to the
Oh,
other.
I did go over the lighting. So the lighting part of it. Every packing list, no matter what your mission is, what you're doing, is always a poncho and a poncho liner. Right? Every single mission that you go on, poncho liner is always in every single one.
Yeah.
And so you don't even take it completely out of your bag. You just take out, I don't know, about a section this big, like the size of a really big beach ball.
So a poncho is a waterproof big square thing with a hood in the middle of it.
And your poncho liner is supposed to go on the inside to keep you warm.
Yeah.
So you pull both of those out.
But the poncho liner never had the hood in it.
No, it didn't. It didn't make any sense.
Never made any sense.
No. But you pull, about this much of both of those out. Mm-hmm. Poncho liner on the bottom, poncho over the top. Or you drape them over you completely. And then you cup your lighter in your hand. And you got to be quick about it. It's one spark and a drag of the same. And that's it. Like you have to be very careful because if you try to let that burn for a little bit, it's just everything's going to glow.
Or if you click it more than
Yep. But if it's just that one quick little flash and you get that thing lit, oh, you're golden. And then you're already down. You put it right in the pistol grip. And then you put all your shit back in your rucksack. Good to go.
We digressed.
I know. Redneck and
So those are the kind of people you'll meet smoking cigarettes.
100%.
Now you'll meet the John who's a business owner and
I am such a fair weather smoker now. Like I try. Like if it's cold, I'll get all bundled up and I'll try. And then I'll get like halfway through and I'm like, oh, I can't do this.
I go for a drive.
Or if it's too hot, I'll get out there and I'll start. And as soon as I start sweating, and I'm like, this isn't fun. I'm not enjoying this cigar.
Yeah.
I remember, I think it was after you got back from Phoenix and Florida, the trip after you bought the house.
Yeah.
And we were sitting out there and it was probably 105 at like 8:00. He pulls his phone out and Phoenix was at like 118 at 8 p.m.
It was stupid.
It was ridiculous. And I think we powered through that one and we were like, you want another? Nope.
Yeah.
We're good.
And then you built a smoking room.
Yeah.
No, that was because of the cold.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. That was like, oh man, it's going to get cold. And so I built that smoking room and then the Snowmageddon happened in Texas. This was 3-4 years ago now.
Yeah.
The whole state shut down for like 4 days. And that was the best thing I've ever done. Like, because I got built right before that.
Yeah.
And then, everything shut down and just sat up there and it's like, 8 below zero.
Yeah. Had electricity at the house, had internet. We lost water. But I sat there the entire week, watched TV and smoked cigars.
We ran out of electricity.
You ran out?
Ran out.
Used it all up.
Well, they gave it to us for like 3-minute increments.
I think we had
every
you're on the
4
roll,
hours.
yeah.
Yeah, it was stupid.
I think we kept coming into work anyway, just because there was only like 4 inches of snow on the ground, so it didn't bother us at all.
No.
But we had water.
B, we had water and power
Yeah.
at the old shop. So we spent most of the day up there bullshitting, and then we were like, all right,
Like, do you smoke when it's raining outside?
Yes.
Do you notice that your cigar burns different because it's so humid out?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't stand in the rain, but
Oh.
it's a lot harder.
Like
that way.
get a little umbrella that clips on my cigar. It just blocks it.
But no, we have like the patio, right? So we'd go out there
Yeah.
when it was downpouring, and it's like being in Nicaragua trying to smoke a cigar.
Yeah.
It just doesn't
During-
want to
during the
stay
rainy
lit.
season. Yeah. Yep.
It's so humid. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. Nicaragua, the cigars, they taste a little different. Like they're a little better in
Yeah.
Nicaragua. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Maybe it's our attitudes because we're there.
Right.
You know, maybe it's
You're in a
It's
happier,
it's a
you're
mental
in
the
a
mental
happier
thing,
place.
maybe. I don't know. But it is a lot harder to smoke in Nicaragua.
Like we need to do an experiment and we need to add stressors into our cigar experience while we're down
No,
there.
you know what we need to do is we need to bring a cigar from here that's the same as the one that we're going to
Yeah.
grab from the factory, smoke them side by side
And see.
and see.
Yeah.
If they both taste the same, it's mental.
Yep.
If one tastes better than the other, then we know. But
So I was going to add stressors like they, tie our hands together and put a hood over us and throw us in the back of a truck and drive around at night and then give us a cigar. Then we're going to figure out what it is.
we could do a blind, like which one came from the States, which one came from, right out of the aging room.
Right.
But yeah, we should do a blind tasting sometime where we have to identify our own cigars.
We can't look at it.
No,
That's the-
absolutely.
Yeah.
It would have to be, we'd probably have to wear a blindfold.
You ever smoked a cigar blindfold?
No, actually,
No, but I've grabbed one driving
Yeah.
and I had no idea what it was. I grabbed it, lit it, and smoked it. Yeah.
So I've done it on purpose, not like completely blindfold, smoke the whole cigar.
Yeah.
But like I've made sure that like I can't see anything.
Yeah.
And I grabbed, I had a cigar in the ashtray and I made sure I couldn't see anything. I picked the cigar up. The weirdest thing in the world is you don't know if you took if you got smoke or not.
Oh, really?
Because you can't, like, if you take a drag,
yeah.
you don't know what it is because you see the smoke come out,
Yeah.
but it's not like you can feel it.
You should be able to taste it.
You can taste it,
but I can
but
see,
you don't know how much.
I can see where you wouldn't know if it was properly lit or not.
Right?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. It was pretty interesting. So I was like, huh. So like to do it like a completely blind, like 6 cigars in front of me, they're all lit, and I just pick them up and
Yeah.
go for each one. Besides having that, if I don't retro,
Yeah.
like I might not know.
No, I think for sure you have to retro to know for sure.
Right.
Like it'd be hard because that's where you get, I don't know. I'm sure we've talked about retrohaling, but that's, where you let a little bit of smoke, like say the last 10, 20% of smoke out of your nose.
Mhm.
And
You don't
that's-
inhale it. You
yeah.
just push it through. Like,
Yeah. And that's where all your flavors are. Right. And so like when we're blending, you couldn't, I feel like you couldn't blend a cigar and not retrohale
Yeah.
because
You'd miss everything.
you would miss a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. It would be, where like the Bill Burr, he's like, it tastes like smoke, motherfucker. You know what I mean? Like, or you asshole, I think is what he says. It tastes like smoke, But if you don't retro,
But that's like doing a wine tasting and be like, it tastes like wine.
yeah, like chugging it,
Yeah.
be like, oh, it's wine.
Yeah. It's like, no shit.
Yeah.
You got a lot of wine tastings to take care of.
Oh, I got more I got to go pick up too. I either need to start drinking more wine or stop being a wine club member.
Well, bring him in here. I like wine. I just don't know if it's good. Like I don't know how to order a good wine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know what I like, but like by
Yeah.
looking at all the bottles in a restaurant, that's why when we go out with Craig, I'm like,
Whatever see
Yeah.
I'll take 2 of him.
I'll take whatever he's getting.
Yep. Yeah. No, I got like 12 or 18 more bottles I got to go pick up.
Yeah.
Just because, it's quarterly, but I don't get up there every quarter. Yeah.
Shit, you haven't been here most of this quarter.
So I figured it out. I've been on the road for, I think when I mathed it out, and this was, I don't know, 4 or 5 days ago.
Yeah.
There were 40 days of the year gone so far. and I was on the road for 23 out of the 40 days. I was like,
And then you
fuck.
just went and spent another 4 days out on the road.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. We get a couple weeks,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then we start hitting it again. We got NFG coming up soon.
That'll be fun.
At the Underground Cigar Shop in Fort Worth. That's going to be a really fun event. And then I think the weekend after that is St. Paddy's Day.
Yeah.
And then the weekend after that is PCA. And so I'm looking forward to PCA. Let's talk about PCA and TPE really quick.
we just
Um,
this was the first episode since we got back from TPE, I believe.
No, but this is
Okay.
so this is the first one after the dust settled. We actually
Yeah. Right.
But I mean, TPE was ungodly slow. It really was.
Numbers wise, it was slow.
And people wise.
Yeah, people too.
And so I was talking to a bunch of, because I was just out in Arizona for, 5 days. So I was talking to all the shops while I was out there, did you go to PCA? If so, how come you didn't fucking come see us? Or if you did, hey man, nice seeing you again, even though I saw you 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And then, are you going to PCA? Just to try to gauge kind of what's going on. And almost all the shops are like, yeah, we're going to go to PCA.
Yeah.
Which is nice because it gives me a little bit of hope that, PCA is still going to be busy and it's not going to be dead like TPE was. But by PCA moving, it kind of made customers choose.
Yeah.
I think that was their motive behind it.
Yeah.
They
Case-wise.
definitely on board with you on that one.
Yeah.
Like it forced the retailers to pick one or the other.
Yeah.
But
now-
no one's going to drop 8 or 10 grand to go out and then spend 10 grand to go back and do it again 45 days later.
Yeah.
You know?
So now the Southwest and West Coast guys that would just drive to Vegas next year have a little conundrum going on
Oh,
because now they have to fly to New Orleans.
yeah.
And
And there's a lot of shops that drive to Vegas.
more than half of the people that I talked to that are in that area were like, yeah, I don't know if I'm going to go to New Orleans. Like the cost is too much for me to go where I would just drive to Vegas
Right.
and it would cover, it'd be whatever, $100 in gas in my hotels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now I have to get a plane ticket and, they're anywhere between $500 to $1,000 round trip, depending on where they're flying from.
Yeah.
And,
That's $500 to $1,000 worth of product you can put on the shelves.
Yeah. Plus, the lodging and everything's going to be a little bit different. It's not like you're staying on the strip where there's, 80 different hotels to choose from.
And afterwards, where are we all going to go hang out and smoke?
Yeah.
Like you're just going to, I don't
Because you can't smoke in New Orleans. They did pass a law, though, where businesses can apply for an event-specific smoking permit.
Oh, boy, I hope they do that.
But they have to apply for it. If they don't apply for it, you can't smoke in it.
Yeah.
So I know that there's some that have either already have or are planning on doing it. But it just depends on how many people go to the convention because there's not a lot of places that are around, like the French Quarter and stuff that are big that can host
Right.
oh yeah, we're going to have 400 people show up tonight.
Well, yeah. I mean,
What? Yeah.
look at
We need
the
to talk
Circle
about this
Bar.
afterwards.
Yeah.
Look at how many people were at the Circle Bar.
Yeah.
After at the close of business each show day.
Yeah.
There were times.
Well, if PCA's smart, they were doing that after party
Yeah.
and they did the after hours thing. It might actually work if they do that
If that was the place
in
you
New
could go
Orleans,
smoke.
if that's where everybody can go to smoke. You know what I mean? If they
Yeah,
keep
maybe.
if they keep it
Yeah.
open till midnight or whatever, just to hang out like that might work for PCA
Yeah.
to do that. Because I don't know where everybody's going to want to go.
I know where I want to go. And we'll try to get as many people there as we can, but
All right.
we'll see. But the thing is I don't know if we can smoke there. Like I want to go there because the drinks are great, the food's phenomenal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you literally you can't smoke anywhere.
Like walking down Bourbon Street.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you can do that. But,
Okay.
It's. Have you been to New Orleans?
I have not.
Bourbon Street. Bourbon Street is not the cleanest place.
Right. Yeah. Either in
And-
New York, but yeah.
So hanging out there's nowhere you can't just sit. There's no benches
Yeah.
or anything like you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And if a business has something in front of their business, it's not like for public
Yeah.
use.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
like they have the balconies, but in order to get to a balcony on a second floor inside of a building, you usually buying a table or VIP or something in order to have access. And only a handful of places actually let you go out on their balconies.
And then the smoke on the balcony is probably still in it.
No, you can smoke on the balconies because you're outside, but there's no chairs or seats, and they're not big. Like,
Yeah, it's a 2-seat balcony. Like,
well, even the big ones, you can fit like 8 people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm looking forward to just a change up from Las Vegas.
I'm looking forward to it because I love the food down there.
Yeah.
I'm
Then
a big fan.
and we'll get a drive. It'll be
Yeah.
So it'll be a little more cost effective for us to go, but that doesn't matter if the sales are going to be way down,
Right.
right? So
Yeah. But we'll see. It might draw more people from the East
a different
Coast,
area. Yeah.
Who knows? We'll see. But I think to touch back on what started that whole conversation, I think more people in 2025 might choose TPE over PCA.
Yeah.
Now, the downfall, though, is because this year was so slow, how many manufacturers are going to drop out of TPE
Right.
Yeah.
and only go to PCA next
You know,
year?
I heard another manufacturer talking about it though, and they bring up a good point, right? Like the sales numbers might not have been great,
Yeah.
but you're still meeting people, and they met a new group of clients,
Right.
like a lot of the head shops, a lot of stuff like that, where you're not going to meet it
Mhm.
at PCA.
Yeah.
So and we picked up a couple, a handful of new
That
shops.
that aren't going to PCA.
Yeah, that
Yep.
so we picked up some new customers. So when you divide like the lifetime spend from the new customer
Yeah.
over that one, then it's making more sense.
Right.
I think it's definitely worth going to these events. I'm glad we did it economically this year. But
that, and for the retailer, and this is another thing, and I'm not trying to shit on anybody by any means by talking about this, but there's retailers out there that are trying to figure out. So PCA raised their dues, right? They didn't really tell anyone they were raising their dues. They just kind of sent out invoices to all their retail shops.
oh no,
And we're like, oh, by the way, but if you pay before this date, we're going to take $50 off the increase that we did. But after that date, you get even more of an increase. And it was like a 15-day grace period before that $50 off went away. But there's a lot of retailers that are like, I mean, ultimately on a large scale of everything, the PCA and CR, Cigar Rights of America, Premium Cigar Association, all those organizations that are fighting for, all the things in this industry to, all the regulations the FDA is trying to put in place and everything like that.
right?
The trade show is one of their fund generating events. They're a nonprofit.
Yeah.
And so, or TPE is a for-profit show. It's owned by one company and they're using it to generate funds.
Yeah.
But there's no dues that need to get paid by the attendees that show up. And so a lot of guys are like, well, I have to pay my dues, and then I have to get tickets, and I have to book travel, and then I have to get hotel rooms, and then I got to do all of this stuff.
Yeah, they're running the numbers.
In order to go to the show to buy cigars, or I could just wait till the rep comes the month after, and I could buy cigars then, and I don't have to,
Yeah.
So,
No, but support the TPE, support the CRA, because
well, support PCA.
that's what I meant
Yes.
to say. Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Because if you look, they won, and they won a great victory.
No, I get it, but
Right. And they spent a lot of money to do that.
Yep. So we see that as a manufacturer.
Yeah.
And we see the significance of what that means.
Yeah.
On the retail side, like they're so into the day-to-day
That's true.
of everything that their big picture is, next quarter I need to beat, my next quarter from last year, or next year I need to beat my sales from this year. And it's not like, these regulations, because essentially in a retail side of things, the regulatory side of it comes down to mostly to the manufacturers. The manufacturers now have to jump through the hoops in order to be able to still legally sell their product, and the retailers are just retailing the product.
Yeah.
So in their eyes, it's okay, what is this organization doing for my shop?
Well,
You know what I mean?
and I'll defend the PCA and CRA a little bit on this one. Is their big focus is state to state.
Yeah.
So they're trying to prevent states from raising your
Right.
tobacco tax. Like there's a lot of reasons to support the PCA.
No, I and like I said, like
Yeah.
this might piss
But
people off, but like I support the PCA. I stand behind them. I understand what they do for the whole industry. But I'm talking about guys that are in states that, they're not up against raises, cigar tax raises. They're not up against caps or anything.
Today.
But say the shop's been there for 15 years. and they've been paying their dues every single year.
Yeah.
But there's nothing that in the past 15 years that ever had to be done in order for them to, to stay in business. Like I see both sides of it, and I mean, I don't know. I don't know if there's an answer. Trying to make everybody happy, you make nobody happy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But these are just things that I've been, hearing, especially with all the changes that have been going on in these trade shows and everything like that.
Yeah. Well, you got like the big, like Drew Estates hasn't been going to PCA. They're going to PCA this year.
Yep.
So I think PCAs, I have a feeling, and I didn't have this until recently.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling now that PCA will be really good. I was a little worried when we were in the middle of TPE that if PCA is down, like,
well, I think COVID, and I hate to use that as reasoning.
Never should.
But because of all the bullshit that was going on during COVID and the limited ability for us to do massive trade shows like we used to do,
Yeah.
I think that is what allowed TPE to kind of slide in and be like, hey guys, look at me.
COVID, like, you look at trends, right? So IPCPR is what it was before PCA. And, the attendance numbers, you want them to gradually go up, right? And then COVID happens and it fucking, it's just like, it was nobody's fault but China, and, but then, it puts a big interruption into that. And so now you're on a recovery mode, but now I think we're past the recovery mode of COVID.
Yes.
I think, that was the last 2 years where it was affected. Now it should be trending normally again.
Right.
Hopefully so.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see. The only constant in life is change.
Yeah.
And change isn't always a bad thing. It just, you have to be able to accept it and pivot and move and keep going forward with it. I think a lot of people are stuck on they shouldn't have done that. They shouldn't have moved. They shouldn't have gone somewhere else. They shouldn't have blah, blah, the creature's a habit.
Yeah. We are. Everybody.
It's a human nature. But like, I'm okay with going to New Orleans and then maybe in a couple of years back to Vegas and maybe to Florida, or wherever, as long as it's not somewhere cold. Yeah. I'm totally okay with it.
Keep me out of North Dakota in March and I'll be happy.
Right.
But yeah. But I think Florida would be a good one too. I mean, that's where most of the cigar industry is. Like, Florida would probably be good. But yeah, I'd like to see it move around a little bit.
Yeah.
But then again, we're not storing our booth.
Exactly.
We're not.
And for us, it's easy.
Because
we learned how to pivot on things. Yeah. But for these guys that have, $750,000 booths
that store
that are just
in Vegas.
Yeah.
Now they have to ship them.
Yeah.
Like, that's a nightmare.
Like I remember when we had to ship ours and we had one massive crate, it was bigger than this table and it was, whatever, 5 feet tall. And I remember we had to deal with that and it was a nightmare. Some of these guys booths, they have 15 of those.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just like, wow.
Yeah. So we'll see, mate. I don't know. We'll see. But I have a good feeling for PCA this year.
Yeah.
So
PCA should be fun.
Yeah.
You've been so out of the PCAs, the shows that you went to, Scott and I talked about this in the last episode about our favorites. Out of all the shows that you went to, which one's your favorite?
Like which year? Which one specifically?
Yeah.
Ooh. Honestly, probably PCA the first round. A, because new experience.
Yeah.
B, because when I first came down, I didn't really get on the road in October of 20 because of the fact that we were still in the grips of COVID, so nobody actually wanted to talk to anybody. So I spent a lot of time emailing and phone calls and stuff like that with retailers in the area. So getting to see them at PCA, meet face to face, or see them the second or third time,
right?
It was a lot of fun, and getting to visit with some of the retailers that like Roger in Alaska, who I just emailed him the other day and was chatting with him. He clued me in on their exorbitant tax rate they have up there, which is just astronomical, and I had no idea.
It's hard to keep up with all the states.
Oh man, it is.
And like Alaska blows my mind.
Like why?
Yeah, you have like 4 shops in the entire state.
Well, not only that, but state tax you're paying out to people.
Yeah,
you have a fucking surplus. Why are you why are you
That's why they have a surplus.
Yeah. But why are you taxing something?
And especially on a product like cigars.
Yeah.
Like I understand. I don't. I'm not even going to go down that rabbit hole because I don't understand. I was going to say I understand certain taxes. No, I don't. But they have that high of a tax rate on a product that very few amount of people are going to actually smoke,
especially in your state with very few people.
Yeah,
like,
and they're not like all. I don't know.
Yeah,
I get it, but hey, it is what it is. So your first PCA was your favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because like I said, it was a completely new experience. I went into this pretty much blind.
Right.
I had no idea. I tried to hang with you fucking lushes.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think I made it through the first day, and then after that, I just started ghosting you guys when I got tired of it. Just like you'd come into the booth the next morning and be like, "You just up and disappeared." I'm like, "Yep, I did."
Well, the difference between us is we are alcoholics, and you're a former alcoholic.
Yeah. Oh, no, I'm not a former alcoholic. I am still an alcoholic.
He's recovering.
I just
retired.
I don't drink anymore.
Retired alcoholic. I like that.
Yeah, I think that's a good term, right?
I have successfully retired from one thing.
I'm still working up to retirement, Dave.
Everybody has a different retirement plan.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, it was so much fun. It really was. Yeah. The show was a blast. Getting to hang out with all the people after the show was even more fun because then you get people that were like, they actually settled down a little bit and cut loose. Nobody headbutted anybody that I was aware of when I was at the shows. But,
that's great.
But yeah, I honestly, and that's the thing is like I've only been to 2 because I came down after 20. So I went to 21 and 22.
Yeah.
I did go last year.
Yeah.
I did go last year because that was when we took Eric, and that was
that was like your handoff.
That was the crawl.
It was Eric's first day, your last day. And you're like,
Yep.
Yeah, that was that was a lot of fun too because it was the how long you been doing this? And Eric would be like, about 4 days.
Seriously. Yeah.
So yeah, no, that was cool because I got to hand off, like you said, all the Texas retailers that came into the show. Got to introduce them to Eric and be like, he's going to be taking over. And, but I still talk to a lot of those guys actually.
Yeah.
And that goes back to the nature of our business model, which is more focused on the relationship building as opposed to the sale.
Yeah.
We spend so much time and effort building that friendship and those friendships and connections with those retailers that more often than not, sometimes to the negative on our end, they view us more as friends than they do as a manufacturer. And as
it's funny. We've gone to shows for, I don't know how long I've been going now, but it's been a number of years. Right. And we'll be hanging out with people at the show. And like, I don't even realize that they had never ordered.
Right. It's, it's years.
And then like last year, I think it was 2 years ago, I got an apology from a guy that I love. He's just a good person.
Yeah.
Right. He's like, yeah, one of these days I'll get you in the shop. I'm really sorry. I've been working on it.
And you're like, what?
I'm like, I didn't know you didn't carry us. Like, I don't care. I just like hanging out with you. You're a good dude,
Mm-hmm.
And so.
But that's the thing. It's like those relationships, it may not necessarily generate in an open the first year or two.
Yeah.
But 3 years down the line, that could become one of our top performing shops for that year.
Yeah. I think, it's once people get to know who we are, I think that makes a big difference. It makes a big difference.
And I don't think that's just our brand specifically.
No.
I think that's across the board in this industry.
Yeah, there's definitely a few brands that I know of that the reps have they operate on a very similar model.
Yeah. They're all friends of ours.
But I don't think it's just this industry that's based like that too. I mean, you got to think back, when we're all 3 of us were in the gun industry,
Absolutely.
You know, and the biggest difference is, for the most part, everybody in the cigar industry, brand owner wise, are good people. I can sit down and have a conversation with them.
Yeah.
You know, friends with all the. I mean, there isn't many that I've met that I don't like.
Yeah.
And the firearm industry is a little different.
Yeah.
You know, you meet that the owner of that brand, whether they're a firearms manufacturer, accessories, you know, parts, pieces, you know, whatever, gunsmith.
Yeah.
And you sit down, you meet them, you hang out, you develop a friendship relationship with these people. It's either a love or hate in that industry.
Yeah.
Right. But it's a make or break of whether you're going to carry them or not.
Yeah.
You know, if you sit down and you have a great relationship with the owner of this place, and obviously you have to believe in their product too.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to stand behind that as a retailer.
Like
Be like, this is awesome.
I'm going to
These
give an
guys are
example.
great.
There is in the gun industry, there's somebody that has very similar backgrounds as us
Yeah.
that sold a product that we sold, right?
Yeah.
And I very much, and it's a good product. I like their product.
Yeah.
I very much wanted to like them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I went and I made a specific effort to go to their booth, introduce myself, and say, hey, you know, and they were just, and then I got to talking about some other brands, kind of their competitors, but what we carried, you know, and like I don't necessarily look at another cigar manufacturer as a competitor,
No.
right? They are, but
I'm not going to talk shit about them.
no, but they are, but there's room in the industry for everybody,
There is.
right? But so it doesn't bother me,
Yeah.
right? But I talk to these people in the gun industry. And I'm like, what do you think of this new whatever that came out? And they're like, oh, fuck that company.
Yeah.
I'm like, why?
Yeah.
And they're like,
it is so very,
they're like,
very black and white.
I'm never going to go to a competitor's booth and look at a product. I'm like, why? Everybody does it.
yeah.
You
Called
know?
market research.
Yeah. And they were just,
That's why we smoke everybody
They-
else's cigars.
they were just douchebags. And I've never once sold one of their products.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things to do in the cigar industry is whether I'm doing an event or not, if I'm in a humidor at a shop and somebody's in there and they come up to me and they ask me questions and it has nothing to do with Warfighter tobacco,
Yeah.
I love helping those people.
Yeah.
Because I'll go through with the extent of my knowledge of whatever I know about whatever they're asking and on all these other different brands, whether they're in flavored infused cigars or premium cigars or whatever. And I'll literally get to my extent of it and be like, hey, man, this is all I know about this, you know, or this and that and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh, man, thanks for all your help. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, by the way, I own this brand,
Yeah.
you know, and if you want to try those are awesome too. I was like, but, you know, these are great cigars. So make sure you try those. And then they look at me and they're like, what?
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? And they're like, you own that brand, but you just told me all this about all these other brands that you have nothing to do with. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, they're good cigars, man.
Good
you should
cigars,
try them.
good people. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yep. It's one of my favorite things because just the reaction off that customer's face, you know? And I hope other, you know, brands and reps do the same thing. I hope. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've never been in a humidor where somebody else has tried to sell me a cigar.
Yeah. No, it's a good industry. I really enjoy it. So
Yeah. So Dave, while you were on the road, who is your favorite shop in Texas? What was your favorite one to go
well, that's kind of put him on the spot.
hang out?
No, well,
Okay.
so that was one of the deals. Like I rapidly developed favorite spots
Yeah.
in every major city in Texas that I went to.
Yeah.
So like Austin was Zodiac's.
Yeah.
You know, Derek's got a fantastic shop, and anybody in that area
Very
will
cool
completely understand.
Nice humidor.
I don't
you know-
actually. I don't know if we talked about Zodiacs on here yet. I don't mean to cut you off, but
No, you're fine.
they have one of the coolest ways to get into their actual members lounge area.
Yeah.
Like you walk in, you don't even know there's members.
You don't. You walk in, and on the left is the cash register and you know whatnot.
Yeah.
On the right's a pretty decent sized walk-in humidor. And then straight ahead is a bookshelf.
Yeah.
And it's a Murphy's door. You pull, I think it's a little box. And I think you move the box, and then the whole door opens, and it is this massive
Lounge.
in the back.
Yeah. So, I mean, Derek's place, Zodiac's, up in Fort Worth, of course, is hands down the underground.
Yeah.
Those guys, the entire atmosphere of that place is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
Um,
I tell people everywhere I go that if you want to mirror your shop after somebody's, look at those guys.
yeah.
The
Well-
physical footprint. Don't look at their old shop.
Yeah.
Look at their new one.
Well, I mean, you can even look at their old shop
You
because
could.
there's so many people that are like, oh, if I had more space, blah, 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 blah,
Yeah.
blah. And it's like, look what they did.
Look at they went from that and building the customer base that they have,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
awesome,
Yep.
to opening it like literally a block away,
Yeah.
not
I
even
mean-
half a fucking,
It's a
I mean-
catty corner across
Yeah.
the street.
to building an awesome looking shop.
The underground shop the original shop was quite literally the size of this room, plus or minus.
Maybe two of these. Yeah.
Maybe two of these. You think?
Well, the lounge area was this big.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then everything else was
The humidor, the cash register.
as
Yeah.
big as another room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's
So-
awesome. It's just the clientele that they built, the relationships,
Well, but that and they did the thing right, and they built the community, and the community sustains what they have built.
Right.
So, and that's if any budding retailer out there is going to hear this, that's what you need to do. You need to build that community.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have the community, you will not survive and you will not thrive.
Yeah.
So I feel like the underground is kind of like Cheers.
Yeah.
Right?
I could follow that. Yeah.
You walk in, it's where everybody knows your name. You know?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. Usually when I walked into the underground, it was something along the lines of "It's about fucking time,"
yeah.
you know. But yeah. So I had kind of preferred shops in every major city that I hit as I was bouncing around. So it is tough to put a single shop on Spotlight.
As a rep, what's the most ridiculous thing you ran into? Whether it's the shop owner, a customer that walked in, like, is there something that stands out that was just like,
And if
I can't believe this just happened?
and if it's really bad, you don't have to put any names out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Like the most interesting thing.
Yeah.
And
Now I'm
that's-
trying to think of the most interesting thing that I've experienced.
I know yours.
Mine's when I was in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hands down, that
That-
was the most interesting.
That I don't think anything's going to top that for me.
Yeah.
I mean, the rest of the stuff is like, wow, that was fucking wild.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like that was so. I don't know.
And-
like,
I'm sure John's told the story on this podcast, but
yeah, there
what
was
we're referencing.
there was a convicted felon, a judge, a lawyer, a cop, and an active duty Army guy that just happened to be there at the same time. And the convicted felon was arrested by the cop, tried by the lawyer, and the judge sentenced him. And they were all sitting there smoking together, like, I was a shitbag back then. I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Bell Mead Cigars
Yeah.
in Nashville, Tennessee.
Yeah. I can't, like, I've never had an experience like that really stuck with me as a rep. Like,
Yeah.
like realistically, I mean, I have, I can't.
Like nothing where somebody orders the whole line, they sell out in a week, and then you go back in a month and a half and they're like, well, we haven't sold any in a month and a half.
Honestly though, that does bring to mind one, and there was a shop that I visited with a couple of times. They opened an account, brought in the whole line at that time.
Yeah.
We set up an event, and I went up and did an event. They ordered, I don't know, I think it was something like 18 or 20 boxes for the event.
Yeah.
And I sold out in the space of like an hour and a half. And then we did our Black Friday sale.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
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 And then
Our 1 day sale.
yeah, our
one day sale.
1 day sale. And while I was actually out on the road, I got an email from that shop saying that they would pause carrying Warfighter because of the fact that we did a sale.
Yeah.
And that cut into their profit margin.
Yeah.
So they were no longer, or they were going to pause, and they would let me know when they felt like bringing it back in. And that's been 3 years ago.
Yeah. So I'll talk about that for a little bit. We sell direct to consumer. There's a lot of retailers that don't like that.
Yeah.
But I don't know how else to build a brand. How would I have built a brand where customers are interested in the brand.
Yeah. Well, it's been 8 years for us right now.
8 years, yeah.
And if we would have done the quote unquote traditional method where we just go wholesale and we rely on the retail partners to help promote the brand, probably year 2 would have been the last year for us.
Yeah.
Well, and I tried to explain that to retailers that pushed back against that, when I was out on the road.
I think
And I had to explain it to them this way. And it was basically, we do direct to consumer because the customer wants our product and they don't have a brick and mortar retailer in their area that carries it. If you want that customer's business, carry our fucking product. It's not that hard.
And once they do, that customer would rather go to your shop to get it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and we want the customer to go to your shop, right? So we ran up a report after you told me that.
Yeah.
We ran a report in the
I think in the past 12 months prior to that day, we did $600 in sales within a 20-mile radius of their zip code.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and the best part, I think we actually broke it down by each individual product as well.
Yeah.
And I think it was something like over 60% of it was accessory stuff, like Pelicans and lighters and cutters and, just like swag.
Yeah.
It wasn't even like they were just ordering $600 worth of cigars. No, not at all.
Yeah. So but then some of our best retailers also sell online.
And they tell us, do not stop doing that because you're building your customer base. You're creating new customers by doing that for accessibility. And then they can find it at their local shops.
I have friends of mine that know that I work for Warfighter Tobacco that will still go and order from Tim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, do you hello?
Well, no.
Send me a fucking text message.
It's because Tim has a personality.
He does.
He's very much part of the community.
Tim is Cigars Daily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He does all of his YouTube stuff. He does he does a great job marketing for his shop.
Yep.
If you want some good knowledge across the board on all the brands, on all the cigar etiquette, on cigars, what to do, accessories, literally almost anything that has to do with anything cigars, go look at Cigars Daily on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a video. If you have a question about something, he made a video on it. I guarantee it.
Yeah. Well, John's been on his show a couple times.
A bunch.
Yeah.
It's great.
He's built a recognizable brand.
Yeah. I think he has the largest following, or the largest YouTube page in the cigar industry, I think. Or it might be one or two. I can't.
Yeah.
He's either the largest or second largest or back and forth. But he's been doing it for a while and he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
But it touched back on we you sell direct consumer. I don't like to carry your brand. This is one of the only industries that I've ever been a part of where I feel like some people are just allergic to making money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're just like, well, I'm not going to do that because of X, Y, and Z, and it's all emotion based.
Like we
like-
looked at the cigar industry because we felt we could outmarket a lot of the industry that was at the time for sure. 8 years ago.
When you're talking to established brands at IPCPR and they're telling you that they've got a pretty solid following of 1,800 people on their social media, it's like, well, what the fuck?
I'm just like, okay, well, so I figured we'll build a brand through social media, right? And then we want retail partners.
Yes,
we want the people to drive there and pick them up and hang out there because they're not hanging out here. We sell nationally. Yeah. Like they're not hanging out here.
And we don't have a spot for people to hang.
We
out
don't.
Here.
We don't have.
That's on purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd rather be boxing up and shipping to a retailer and telling everybody to go there.
Yeah.
So it's but we had to build the brand. Nobody would know Warfighter if we didn't start on social media and we didn't start selling direct.
Yep.
Our brand would not exist.
Yeah.
How would the story of Warfighter come across through retailers?
It wouldn't.
Oh,
it wouldn't have.
Yeah.
Yep. So this leads me into if Warfighter's not available in your area, go to your retailer and ask.
Yeah.
I would rather sell to the retailer
or send us an email, info@warfightertobacco.com and let us know the shops that are around you that you would like to see us in.
Yeah.
If we have the ability to make that happen in that area, we will do everything we can to do it.
Yeah.
Some of the areas we just don't have representation. And the last thing that we want to do is open up an account and not be able to service that account how they should be. That's not the partnership that we're looking for with
Yeah.
the retail partner. And so we don't want to try to get in there and then be like, hey man, like I might see you know, at all the shows, and I might talk to you every quarter.
Now, most of them don't give a shit if the customers come in and buy it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
then they're like, okay, I can make that phone call and reorder.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's, you know, it's, you know, what's the right way to do it? I don't know, but we know our way.
Yeah.
So
It's hard for us to, you know, cover the entire nation with
Yeah.
a handful of people.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, we're working on it.
Yeah. Anyway, it was good to have you on the show, Dave.
Yeah.
So you've been on the other podcast quite often, but
I have.
this is the first
I
for
know.
for the Warfighter one.
That's right. We were kind of all over the place on this one.
We
too.
were.
That's all right.
Anything else you want to tell the listeners about you?
No, I think I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Nothing about a scarf or anything.
Dave likes long walks on the beach and motorcycle rides.
Yeah. I do like motorcycle rides.
Yeah. But yeah, that's it. Till next time, boys and girls. Warfightertobacco.com, Warfighter Tobacco on all the social medias. And
Get your hoist ready.
Can do.
yeah.
Cheers, buddy.
Cheers, guys.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys next time.